You will fall in love with me. You will take me away from this place.
Disclosure, news and commentary number 128, 128, 128, 128, 128, What's going down? Now, I've almost got the no peace report finished up and written. I'm finding that when I write those things, now the part that takes place before the first match is taking up more and more time. My sort of thoughts on how it places in the wrestling world and to put things in context and all of that. But I'm enjoying writing these reports. I am looking forward to getting that one done because, of course, Monday means wrestling show after wrestling show after wrestling show for the remainder of the week. But I am on top of it, on it like a haunted. Let's get to this full disclosure. The commentary is about my first viral, truly viral thing that I've tweeted, and how that's come about, what the fallout of that is, what it's taught me, and which subsequently I can teach you. Not a lot of Georgia wrestling to talk about, but what there is to talk about I think is pretty significant. But there are a number of stories related to the Georgia area and the national scene and things coming up that we're going to go into by and large. But we have an unboxing that always feels good. I go to my P.O. box and like, do I have it says like usually this like red slip that they put in there so you go pick up your stuff. And it's here, and it looks like a shirt, which is awesome. Goodness knows I don't have enough of those. Kidding. I can always use another shirt. Jeez Louise. Today's my weightlifting day. I'm having trouble opening this package. That's not a good sign. That's not a good sign. Worry-free return. That's nice. Just seeing if there's a note in here, you know. It's a different company than I usually deal with. There, I'm not going to look at the shirt. Let's see if any reason you're not happy. It's weird. It's a lot of little scrappy pieces of paper in the thing. All right. I'm going to let you see it the same time I see it. 1, 2, 3. Boom. Oh, snap. Oh, that's really nice. Oh, snap. This is, I play Maneater. Maneater Truth Quest was the downloadable content that was added, that I one-shotted. I did everything that I met all my goals. For the people who have been asking about the gaming stuff, because the gaming stuff is doing really well. So I feel like I need to really stay on top of it and come up with the next project. You know what the next project is? It's pretty crazy. Actually, I wasn't planning on doing this, but let me go do it. Recently, I've discovered the Wii that I used to own and the GameCube stuff that plugs into the Wii. So, and I found 2 of the GameCube games. I had others, but I haven't found them. But it's Def Jam Vendetta, which is like a wrestling style fighting game. This is the one that came out before Def Jam Fight for New York. So I put my kids, I gave a bounty to my children if they can find the Def Jam Fight for New York in their mom's house. And then this game, Goblin Commander, Unleash the Horde, and you're like, Steve, what the hell? Exactly. This game, almost nobody owned it, but I owned it and loved it. So these are my next 2 projects in some way, shape, or form. And if they can find Def Jam Fight for New York, I'll come up with crazy stuff about that as well. So I'm excited about that. That'll be a nice thing to jump into. But I mean, this is a nice shirt. I mean, the quality of it is super nice. So I'm excited about some Man-Eater Truth Quest. Dude, people are so good to me, man, and I appreciate them so much. I'm going to be honest about something. Today was a freaking crazy day, man. Anytime you have car stuff, it just drives me like, got my oil changed, and then they're saying, you know, because in preparation, because I'm going to be at IWE on the 25th, so that's not this weekend, but the weekend after. We're going to talk about shows coming up, and I'm going to go into IWE in depth on this show. But you know, I'm prepping the car, and then they're saying, oh, there's like a little leak thing. We're not sure what's wrong, just so you know. And then I'm like, all right, well, I'll have to wait till all this money comes in, like early next week, I'm guessing. All this money that I'm owed, and then I can get the car looked at. But then, of course, some light comes on the dash. And so my car is at the shop right now, and I'm just like, that's neither here nor there, but it's just to let you know where my mind's at and why I didn't get this out sooner. Let's talk about wrestling. That's going to make me feel better quick, fast, in a hurry. So let's talk about Southern violence and wrestling. So they have greatly accelerated and advanced this thing with the left-hand path. Left-hand path is kicking all their asses. I looked at that promo that I absolutely loved, and apparently they just ran roughshod. I love that expression, ran roughshod over that show. They're drawing 198, certainly a respectable number. New South drawing 125, and they had the good fortune to have Larry Goodman grace their presence with another well-written report. So that was really cool. Larry and I talked about it briefly, and he got to meet good old Dump Sanders. And yeah, he said Dump seemed really happy that he was there to do the report and all that. And it's just like, I wonder if Larry asked him, then why don't you send your fucking results in? Just saying. Just saying. I was at No Peace, and that was just, you'll see this in the report, but I was just so happy to be there, and Orlando was so happy for them to be back. It was just a fantastic, fantastic thing, and there were 7 women deathmatch wrestlers on that thing. And our commentary, I'm going to, a clip that I took of one of the wrestlers, Randy West is her name, and she took a bump. I have the clip that she just recently shared, and bro. But we're going to talk about the implications of all that. But it was great to see No Peace again. Great to meet Mickey Knuckles. We had a nice conversation after the show. Really crazy stuff. And a lot of information, a lot of inside scuttlebutt. And then I got a phone call while I was right after No Peace. Then I hung out with the Kirks a bit, took them to their hotel room. So we got to talk about more stuff. But this is all stuff I'm going to put on Patreon for my Patreon people. And people keep adding the Patreon, and I really appreciate it. This week, I'm finally freed up a little bit time-wise. So I'm going to get my WrestleMania 3 favorite matches up there. I'm saying matches because there's 2 that I consider tied for my favorite of WrestleMania 3. So I'm just going to commentate over them both, talk about both. And then I'm going to get another episode of Kikaido up there, because now I'm getting people signing up who are not wrestling people or wrestling fans or at all, but they're there for the Kikaido stuff. What is my life? It is crazy. And the gaming thing's going well. And it's nice. It's nice. So I'm going to try to not let the car shit weigh heavy on my mind. But you know how car stuff is, folks. You know how car stuff is. John Arden passed on, and Larry wrote a wonderful thing. I got to say, the stuff that Larry has been writing, I mean, yeah, I'm writing more stuff up there, and people were really cool about that Mickey Knuckles article that I wrote, which is now getting passed around and showing up at different larger websites and all of this kind of stuff. All wonderful. That's not why I wrote it. I wrote it just because I had this... All I can say is, when you're a wrestling person, a true wrestling person, and I consider Larry a true wrestling person, like, you just feel compelled and you feel moved. And if there's any doubt that Georgia wrestling history, it is the most important site, probably in the Southeast, but certainly in Georgia. Because Larry writes the thing like the piece on John Arden, or that piece he wrote on Daphne. If you haven't seen those, you need to take a look. Or the thing about Steve Lawler. Like, Larry serves such an important purpose, and he goes to new shows, and he tries stuff out. Rob Rod's been down. He's been sick. Hopefully he'll be back in action very soon. But you see, Larry's an Iron Man, and it inspires me. Larry says I inspire him. Larry inspires me. Well, as far as what's going on Tipping Point tomorrow, we're going to have to see, because I wanted somebody from that Rampage reunion show, but that's a kind of a weird story, but Murder hasn't gotten back to Larry yet. I wanted to have Murder and AJ Steele on. I thought that would just be a ton of fun and a hoot. But Larry hasn't heard from Murder. So Murder, if you're listening to this shit, fucking contact Larry and get on the goddamn show tomorrow. But we're going to be talking about that. I haven't covered this yet. Let me make sure I'm not skipping anything, because that tends to happen lately. Make sure I talk about that, but I don't want to talk about that just yet. Oh, let me go. Hopefully this doesn't stop. Lately, this thing has been giving me hassles, the camera. I want to talk about this. Oh, my friend's sending pictures. I have friends here from out of town. My good friend Ray, like childhood friend, and we've reconnected, and it's awesome. He's here with his wife. His wife and I freaking, it's like we hadn't not seen each other for the last 20 plus years. Oh man, she's so great. But they're getting a sneak preview of getting to do that Ratatouille ride at Disney. So he sent me a picture of the outside of it. Super cool. I want to talk about this article. I'm going to try to remember to put the link for it. It's a story about the guys at GIPW and the dope stuff that they're doing, man. It's just so cool. So I'm just going to read from the article. It's not that long. Warner Robins, Georgia. After being severely injured in a motorcycle accident, a couple, and I've met this couple, I've seen them because I've gone to more than a couple of GIPW shows, and I know the couple exactly this is referring to. They're badass, first of all, and always really friendly to me, which is always shocking to me when people are that friendly to me, but they're really great. So after being severely injured in a motorcycle accident, a couple is getting help from an unlikely place. Honestly, you couldn't ask for a better group of people, says Anthony Campaglia. There we go. I said it right. He and his wife Alicia were in an accident in April. Listen to this shit. While on Anthony's motorcycle, the couple was hit by a pickup truck. Yeesh. The driver of that truck took off, asshole, and left them at the scene as the bike went up in flames. Holy crapola. Both were severely injured. Alicia unfortunately lost both of her legs and was hospitalized for almost 8 weeks. Fuck duck. It puts it in perspective. I got 2 healthy, brilliant kids, and my car will get fixed. I mean, I'll probably have to, suck dick on the corner to pay for, but I'll figure it out. Sorry. The accident left the Campiglias with a mountain of hospital bills I can't even imagine, and a sudden lack of income. Without her legs, Alicia was unable to go back to her job in housekeeping at Robins Air Force Base. God damn it. In comes GIPW, a motley group of guys with the purest love of wrestling. How are you going to call them motley? These motherfuckers not motley. That's the only thing in this article that I take exception to. I get what they're going for. It's like, oh my gosh, these wrestlers help them. And they wanted to paint that picture quickly. But the GIPW guys, I respect them. It's why I go to the shows. It's why I'm so supportive of what they do. They're not motley. Maybe in the eyes of certain assholes they are. Sorry, sidetracked. The The Campiglias have been diehard fans of Georgia independent professional wrestling since the early days. I've been watching them since they were doing backyard wrestling, says Anthony. Well, damn, that is back in the day. Nicely done. When the team heard about the accident, they put what they love to use. They should have just said GIPW. I'm quibbling about the writing of the article. Calm down, Steve. Setting up an event just to raise money for their biggest fans, who are really more like family. Quote, these guys, they almost lost their lives in this accident, and as soon as they got out of the hospital, they were here in the crowd supporting us. So I'm just trying to give back to them any way I can, says event promoter Eric Dees. Though the wrestlers might throw each other around on a regular basis, the Campiglias have seen a different side. Quote, it was just a bombardment of hugs and love, said Alicia. It was amazing. They know that we're struggling right now, and to know that these guys would do this, I can't even express it. I can't put it in words. Though the Campaglias have a long road ahead of them, they've got support from a particularly interesting group. It's major in and outside of the ring to help everyone overcome the obstacles in life, and this helps. This helps a lot, whether a lot of people know it or not, says Tavorius Dumas, a.k.a. Skrilla the Great. Cool article, cool of those guys, just a really positive experience all around. Again, the GIPW guys, man, they're on the come up. And if you don't know, you got to know. It's such a refreshing show to be a part of. When I've gone to see them, they had talked about using me as part of a thing, and I hope that they really want that, because that's something I would certainly be open to do. Yeah, really fucking cool. Really fucking cool. All right, I took care of that. Something interesting popped up. You know how the Facebook feed stuff pops up. So this thing popped up. What is that? It's the Kohlberg Morality Pyramid. I'm not going to belabor the point when it comes to wrestling. It was one of the first times that I talked about something that wasn't wrestling and applied it to wrestling in a very early full disclosure. I'm just a big fan of the Kohlberg Morality Pyramid. It's just something I want to keep in mind. So again, the lowest level of morality is avoiding punishment. The next level up is self-interest, and most pro wrestlers and pro wrestling people operate on one of these two levels. What am I going to get paid? I don't want to get in trouble, so I'm going to, make sure I greet everybody and shake hands with them, right? One step above that is good boy attitude. What does that mean? How others perceive you, doing things so other people will think that you're great. What the kids would call clout chasing. And I certainly see a lot of people operating on that level. Then there's the law and order morality, right? This is the Jim Cornettes of the world, right? This is the way it's supposed to be done in wrestling. This is the way you need to do it, blah, 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 blah. Above that is social contract. Acting in such a way to contribute to this pro wrestling thing as a whole. Since you are part of it and you are benefiting from it, you should contribute in turn. Not contribute so people will see you as something important. That would be good boy attitude, which is lower. And then finally, principle. Doing things for the right reasons in spite of consequence. So I just like to throw that out there. Kohlberg's Morality Pyramid, cool. I want to talk about, first, I'm going to show you this clip because, lately I've just been finding little clips of things and then showing them a couple times so you can see them. For people who didn't know who Suzuki was before he wrestled Moxley, look at this thing. That is a motherfucking slap. Let's see it again. And then I'm just going to show it to you a bunch of times and go. Hot damn. I wish I had the sound with it, but the clip that I'm going to show you as far as the commentary goes, the sound is most assuredly a part of it, and it's a huge part of that. So you'll get it then. Don't worry about it. Speaking of instead of a clip, let's talk about Chip. I mentioned this on my Patreon, but I want to mention it again. everybody's trying to get theirs in pro wrestling. That's natural, that's normal, that's good. Greed, for lack of a better word, is good, right? But Chip, I feel like, because I know some people with a little bit of stroke and a little bit of pull listen to this. So I'm just going to put it out here. Chip did not ask me to do this. Chip does not know that I'm doing this. I was inspired when I did my 9/11, when I talked about how 9/11 directly affected me and the wrestling school I was just about to open. It got me thinking of the day after, right? People like to talk about that. Oh, when we all felt unified and we all like, our urge was to help people and take care of each other and blah, blah, blah. And I said, that was a really great time dealing with that tragedy by people being cool. And I thought I should be cool. And then I just thought to myself, folks, can we help a guy who deserves it and who's put in the work and put in the time and paid every due in Chip Day? Can we get him into the NWA for a match or a thing? Can we get him an AEW Dark gig? I mean, they just had a whole day's worth of tapings on Saturday, which a couple people inquired whether I was going to go to that. I ended up not going to it. My God, I'm going to watch all those matches anyway, but I just couldn't get there because I was going to go to No Peace at Night and I had the kids. I didn't want the kids to have to sit through. My kids sat through so many, especially my oldest, of the like TNA and TNA tapings and stuff like that. I just didn't want to do that to them. I wanted them to, they're in school right now. I want them to really enjoy their weekend 100% and not just make it all about the stuff that I'm doing. So I didn't go to the AEW Dark tapings, but can we get Chip Day in those, please? Can we get him that? Can we look at, where would Chip want to work and how could we help him get there? He'll do the work and he won't let you down. That's my thought, right? New Japan, I believed in him when I ran PCW. A number of places believe in him now. He had that knockdown, drag out, great match with Davey Richards. He wrestled James Storm. Like, can we get this man a thing? I'm asking. Because he deserves it. This isn't charity. This is letting the good guys win. That's how I see it. So for the people who listen, who's got some stroke at NWA, people who are listening, who's got some say at AEW, can we get Chip Day a thing? Because I know most of the indie guys that they brought in for that stuff. And all of them are fine. But I would say none of them deserve a thing more than Chip. And so I'd love to see Chip at AEW. Or another thought I had is, can we get Chip to Ring of Honor without making him pay for seminar bullshit and all the rest of it? Can we just have Chip go work a Ring of Honor show? Because I think he deserves it. I think he'd represent Georgia incredibly well. And he's different. He's different. In this age where it feels like a lot of people look the same, act the same, are the same, Chip is not. And he's in his physical prime, but he's got tons of years of experience. It's the best of both worlds. And who would appreciate it more? I don't know anybody. So let's hook Chip up. Okay. 2 other things to talk about before the commentary. Let's talk about IWE. I'm going to be there on September 25th. It's called Flawless Victory, September 25th. And everybody's crowds are down and everybody's canceling shows. But here's my thing. I think IWE, which is Intense Wrestling Entertainment, I think they've done such a good job. I've never seen a show of theirs that didn't have more of a crowd than the ones before. And they book better and better people, come up with better and better everything. I'm going to talk about these matches. I was going to put the you know what? Yeah, fuck it. I'm going to put these pictures up. Boom. This match. Gauntlet match. Owen Knight. Hunter Young, who's their great young talent right now. Skrilla. Ashton Starr. Alexander Moss. Dude. Alexander Hammerstone versus Joe Black. Come on. Come on. Dude, look at those dudes. That's a match that has not happened before. It's unbelievable. Josh Magnum and Sean Legacy in one of the best booked things they have going right now. They've built this thing up, and it is a barroom brawl. What does that mean? I'll tell you this much, that VFW all has a bar. This thing's going to be wild. I'm excited to see. I want to see it play out. A rematch. The Ugly Ducklings, the Ducks, against Exotic Youth. I looked at this match. It was an unbelievable match, and now they're getting a rematch. The Ducks, of course, coming off of defending their titles against two teams and beating them. But the Exotic Youth have done nothing but pick up titles as singles and as a tag team since that match, and now they're going to get another shot at it. I love it. I love that they took a match that was so great that people loved, and you know what? We're going to run it back, as the kids say. Zicky Dice against Vinny Pacifica. Fascinating match. Zicky Dice, of course, showing up on Impact now. Obviously, he's on his way up. A big part of that Atlanta show of David Marquez's. That's a great match and an interesting match. And then Danny Jordan defending that women's title against Misa Kate. Misa Kate, who I've seen show up on, in fact, I think she got Performer of the Week 2 weeks in a row. And now she's taking on Danny Jordan, who, okay, I'm going to just say this. Danny Jordan is the only women's champion in Georgia that fucking matters. Am I wrong? I am not wrong. Right? And she's proud to be that champion. She had a hell of a match with Vert Vixen, which if I get time this week, I'm going to look at that thing. So, but wait, there's more. This Mayhem title that's a relatively new thing, held by AC Mack. He's going to take on Carly Bravo. Come on now. Come on now. AC Mack trying to take on all of Overkill. You know, Overkill is definitely, they were born in IWE, and now they're everywhere. But never forget, it was IWE that was the formation of those bad boys. And Carly Bravo wants to bring gold to them. So he's going to take on AC Mack for that Mayhem Championship match. It's going to be wild, man. It's going to be wild. So really cool stuff. Really great stuff. IWE, I'm going to be there. And it's so fun when I go to IWE. There's always new people who listen to the channel, people who I've never met before, who come up to me and we get to have a conversation about it. Of course, I'm busy and I'm doing stuff too, but I always make time. So I'm looking forward to that. IWE, you're definitely going to want to check that out. My ticket link, I've had it ever since they've sold tickets to this show. It's almost the first thing that you see in the description. Get your tickets, man, because I have a feeling that IWE is going to buck the trend of every other promotion in the state who's had to cancel shows and have gotten smaller and smaller and smaller crowds. I think IWE can do it. And I'll be there to let you know if they did. Two wrestlers got a hold of me. And they said, what's the proper way if you're going to meet a new promoter to sort of let them know about you and all that kind of stuff if you're going to see them in person? I think that's a great question. And the fact that I got it from two different wrestlers tells me it's something that needs to be talked about. Now, a lot of this might seem like common sense. And I can only speak from personal experience as a wrestler who strove to get bookings, and I got a lot of them in a lot of different places. Now, part of that is I had help. And I'm going to tell you what that help was, because that'll help you. And part of it is just having to be a promoter and having people deal with you all the time, or working for a different promoter and what I thought worked best and what I thought was proper manners and protocol. Here's a good rule of thumb. If you can get an introduction, that's a better way to go. So if there's a promotion that you're interested in and the promoter's in the building, and there's somebody that you know who can vouch for you, who works there all the time at this other promotion where you want to get booked, having them introduce you to the promoter is a better way to go. Here's a specific example. So Sofia Castillo, who's somebody that I'd seen wrestle in the Florida area, but she was there at IWE. And she sort of asked me, like, who's the booker? Like those questions that wrestlers ask when it's just like, who do I need to talk to about possibly getting booked in the future? And I said, let me introduce you to Tim. So that's what I did. And I guarantee you it made the exchange better for her, better for Tim. And, you know, she's somebody that I could speak on intelligently. I could speak to her about Tim, and I could speak to Tim about her. So when in doubt, you go through somebody else. One, because that person, the person that you're using as sort of the intermediary making the introductions, can sort of judge something because they'll know that promoter better than you. So if that promoter seems like they're really distracted or whatever, then maybe they go like, I'll do it in a second. Or, you know what I mean? I'll bring you over there when it's appropriate, or I'll bring them to you or whatever. That's the ideal, number one, best way to do it. Otherwise, there's the awkward thing of, it's like trying to approach someone you're interested in at a bar. Is it much better if one of, let's say, her friends know you and you go through the friend, can you introduce me? That'll go miles farther than, hi, how are you? Are you from Tennessee? Because you're the only 10 I see. Does that ever work? Yeah, but we're talking about numbers and percentages and also comfort levels of all the people that you're going to deal with. So that's just my general bit of advice. If you're a promoter who's interested in a wrestler, you know what Tim has found works really well? Fucking going through me and having me sort of contact people and sort of connect them. It just works better. It just lets people know that they're prized and honored without putting anybody in this weird negotiating position. I think because a lot of wrestling, because it is a business, and so people are talking money, I think any time that you can have somebody as an intermediary to put people at sort of a more even level feel, I think the better these things tend to go. Now, these are human interactions. What is pro wrestling protocol? Let's be honest about something right now. Pro wrestling protocol, by and large, doesn't exist. It doesn't exist because old versus new school. It doesn't exist because COVID. There's a million reasons why things aren't the way they are. That's why I think you're generally better going about things in a logical fashion. If you don't shake my hands and fuck you, I'm going to shoot on you in the ring. God, that shit is so fucking passe and done. However, the notion behind having an interaction with everybody who works on that show is perfectly sound and great. This idea that there has to be a rule of who's got to talk to who first and all that, that is some fucking lame-ass fucking shit. Can we just agree on that? Fucking ranting. I'm fucking going off. It's happening. So I think this idea that you have to do this and you have to do that is fucking bullshit. However, I think you should want to do it. It's just like saying, I love you, right? If you got to ask somebody, can you just say it back to me? It doesn't mean anything. But if they say it to you heartfelt, then it means something. I don't want somebody who goes around doing a limp handshake to each person and doesn't even make a connection with you. I'd much rather I'd fucking go out of my way. Why do people have to fucking come up to me and like say IWE or GIPW? I fucking make the rounds. Doesn't matter I'm Steven fucking Platt. That shit's lame. You know why? Because I want to. And I want to put people at ease in their own house, especially. Like if I go to GIPW, I fucking ask them. Pro South, whatever. I went up to people. They didn't have to come up to me. It didn't matter whether I got there before them. Chances are I did. I like being really early to shit. And it's not their job to fuck all that noise. It's about connecting with people. I've said it a million times, and I've said it to different wrestlers who I thought had a tendency to isolate themselves from people. Wrestling is social. And it's the most important thing is that people like you. But they really can't like you if they don't know who you are. So introducing yourself and having a brief interaction with people, it does wonders. Whether you're doing a limp handshake, a firm handshake, or a handshake at fucking all. None of that's necessary. But connecting with everybody, people are going to click up. That's okay. People have people they're more comfortable with. That's cool. But all the more reason to go over and introduce yourself. You know. So I hope that helped. If the wrestlers in question or anybody else had any further questions, I'd say whenever you can use an intermediary and get introduced old school fucking matchmaker style, the better off you are. Barring that, then it's up to you to go like, I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm blah, 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 blah. Here's the other bit of advice that is going to do fucking wonders for you, and then I will move on. And then we will go to the commentary. If you want to work for a promotion or a promoter, then fucking know something about them. Because the implication is, I want to contribute to your thing instead of, I want something from you, I want a spot. If somebody comes up to me, what PCW, I'll tell you, I mean, I took on all comfort. That was my thing, is like, fuck, we're the Oakland fucking Raiders. Show up. I'll fucking book you. I'll give you a thing. La, 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 la. But I'll tell you, I'll always remember the wrestlers that would come in and go like, I love the shit that you guys are doing. That I saw that blah, blah, blah match online and it was fucking insane. Or I saw Larry's report. Somebody that showed that they actually did a little research and knew a little something about me, it went miles further than, so you guys need anybody? Fuck you. No. Because if you didn't show up, the show would have gone on. But you did show up. But if you say you come up and just go like, dude, either you got to be super open, like you need... I remember this wrestler who ended up becoming very prominent in the Georgia scene, and they walked in the door and they said, any way you want to use me, if you want me to warhorse, I have my own idea for a warhorse. Motherfucker, you booked. You are booked. You come in knowing what number warhorse you want to be and what your shtick is because you followed us enough to know about our warhorse shtick. Done. So that's my other bit of advice. Wrestler, especially if you do not have an intermediary, but even if you do, if you can open up a dialogue that begins with, I love what you're doing at your promotion. I really think a lot of your champion blank, or I think the such and such angle is really powerful and strong, or I think I can really fit in good with you guys because I know that you need people in there to help put blank over because you're really trying to get that across. Show that you are knowledgeable about where you want to work as opposed to give me a job, give me a spot. I don't really care. Try to avoid those words as well. I always hate when people, I don't care what you have me do. I just want to be here. That sounds like a nice sentiment. I don't want to hear you don't care. I want to hear that you know what we do. Now let's meet our minds together and how can we think of using me? Anybody who could get into my brain and make me think of what can I do with this person was always miles ahead of somebody who was just like, here I am, I'll do anything. Not quite as interesting to me as you having knowledge of our product and then giving me ideas. That's always the best way to go. Cool. Commentary. Here's the clip. Listen to that sound. Here it is again. Bro. That's Randy West. She's wrestling Remington Roar. This is in the middle of the men's gauntlet main event at No Peace Underground. That bump, I've gotten good at, I always put up a ton of clips. I try to put up at least one clip per match. And then a bunch of pictures before the show starts. I take pictures of the camera people. I try to get the referee. I didn't get the referee, who's Lee, who's maybe my favorite referee of all, especially in the Florida area. But I always put over the promotion, the atmosphere of the promotion, but I try to get one clip in. The shorter the clip, the better, because I find that people tend to it really makes the right impression. And this clip was I certainly did that. You'll notice a couple of things about that clip. Over 11,000 people have looked at that clip, and that thing has been shared dozens of times. And people have asked me for permission. First time, people have contacted me to ask me permission to use this clip for things. Talk to Randy after. She's fine. I mean, as fine as you can be after a fucking No Peace Deathmatch show. I mean, blood all over her and shit. But that bump was fine. And she fucking put... That's the other thing you should notice about that. Here, I'll show it one more time. That's the other thing about that. She shared it. And she kicked out. And she beat him. And moved on to the next round of the gauntlet. Holy shit, that clip. But here's what it taught me, right? And then, of course, my brilliant caption of what the fuck in all caps. No judgment. I didn't say this is a horrible bump. That's for other people to debate. That bump is way out of bounds and that guy should never be booked. I mean, all those conversations are happening. As you're going to have conversations when fucking almost 12,000 people now have looked at this clip. But it taught me something. And this might be something that you already knew, but now I've really found out. It's about an indelible impression. And I've had clips 10,000 people have looked at, 5,000 people have looked at. And it's always because I capture a moment and a story. More people have looked at the simple clip of Mickey Knuckles just making her entrance for 3 seconds than even some of the crazier spots. It's when people blur by on social media and they're just scrolling by, what's going to catch them? What's the good caption that you can put? The ability to write and tell a story isn't just a long story. It's not even a short joke. A story can be as simple as the thing that it invokes in the mind. So as an exercise, when you're sharing things from anybody, and those of you who share my stuff, like full disclosure, whatever, I appreciate it, and it's wonderful, and it does help. But people who share things and have a little something to say, it goes miles. It's like getting somebody to introduce you to the next thing. Instead of just presenting a thing, if you write a sentence about it, it helps so much more. I don't think it's just the clip, because I put a clip of crazy looking bumps and spots all the time. It's the what the fuck in all caps, because I basically encapsulate what you're thinking when you see that clip. And I think that's the connection that was made. That was the synapse that was fired in everybody's brain and inspired them to start thinking about it more. And when you're sharing something, sharing it isn't enough. I'm just going to be blunt. You can like quote the tweet, or you can quote with something additional that you can write, and that will always mean more. There's a lot of people who shared this thing, but the people who shared it and then had something to say meant so much more. This clip was something else, right? That bump is hellacious, but it also involved the auditory component, the sound of hitting that thing. It was exactly what you want. Breaking a light tube over somebody, that's what's incredible. It's that sound of the vacuum seal being broken, boom, that matters. Because often they'll have broken pieces and they break them over each other and it's fine. But there's something about that auditory sound. And that's what was so great about that bump, which I'm going to show one last time. So here we go. Ooh. Ooh. How can you capitalize on those moments? How can you make them bigger? Because isn't that what you want? It's great to have followers, and I love it when I see Ashton Starr and other people on Twitter. Oh, I'm almost at blank, blank, blank followers, and then people mobilize and get them there. And this is to my detriment. I am not the guy who's going to click like on my own shit. I am not the guy that's going to openly say, oh, don't forget to like and subscribe and blah, 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 blah. And in some ways that costs me, but in other ways, when I get to something, I know that it was me who got it there. And there's something that feels really good about that. And so, yeah, I'm excited that something that I recorded and something that I wrote something on had that many people look. I think it's wonderful. I think Randy West would love it too. It was the clip that stole that show. And No Peace, man, that's part of the reason I love going is I know I give them that full coverage and there's going to be something on there that's going to get into the thousands. And that reflexively helps me. How many people have freaking, followed me now because of the Twitter and blah, 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 blah. Hell, I got a new Patreon person based on all of that. I can trace the line of they saw the clip, they shared the clip, they followed me, and then I saw their name pop up on the Patreon. They followed that line. It trickled down all the way to getting the Patreon. And so that stuff matters. And of course, for wrestlers, I want your shit to get out there too. But it's not enough to just have the visual. The auditory components matter in the clip as well, of course. But I mean, it's the difference between the Suzuki slap when you don't get to hear the slap noise, but you get to hear the Randy West bump and what that sounded like. World of difference, is it not? Of course it is. But it's the story that you tell. It's the stuff that you write with it. Get those skills because it will separate you from everybody. And that goes for promoters too. Or even when I read reports, if you don't, I don't trust somebody who writes a report or sends it that has bad grammar or can't spell things right. And wrestling people, if you can't convey an emotion in a tweet along with the clip or the picture, you got to write a thing. When you're sharing somebody else's stuff, it's one thing to share a poster. Of course you should do that. We hear, how many times have we heard promoters and stuff bitch about, they don't share my shit. But you know what matters more than sharing it? Talking about it. I'm going to be wrestling so-and-so and so-and-so on this, and you're not going to want to miss it. That would mean so much more. And have a chance of actually doing something. You don't ask, you don't get. ABC, always be closing. People seem like they are afraid to ask, and I hate to tell you this, in pro wrestling, you can't be scared. You got to go in. For something as simple as sharing a tweet or whatever, even more, put a little effort in and you'll get it back threefold. That's the way this shit works. This has been Full Disclosure.